Feel the heart. Experience the soul. Community Pulse.
Dr. Faiez in studio. Assalamu alaikum and shukran so much for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Zainab and Afwan, I'm very well. Thank you. Shukran.
Excellent. Just to start off, we can recap where we left off last week. We had quite an interesting discussion last week and we had so many calls. Even after the program, there were people that still wanted more information and asking whether or not we're going to have a follow-up. So quite an interesting topic last week.
Yes, the globalist agenda, I think everybody should know about it. The sad thing is very few people know about it, also known as the New World Order, and it really impacts on everybody's life. Everybody on the planet really is affected by this agenda, and it's our duty really to really get to grips with it, to understand it deeply, because it affects your life, and its whole purpose is to enslave you and to make you suffer on this planet, which is not nice at all, actually. So, yeah, we really have a duty to really understand what is going on. And we must understand that it's not really governments that are in control of countries. Very few countries are actually sovereign. They are controlled by those, unfolding this agenda. Yeah.
But now...
Or driving this agenda, rather.
We were speaking last week about how they control our lives, and we most of us, we don't realize that this is happening. But for the ordinary person listening, if I would want to be excluded from this kind of a system, how would I start doing this?
Good question. I think we must address that question. That's an excellent question. But I think I want to start off by just posing 3 questions to the listeners, if you don't mind. And I'll tell you what the point of this is after they give us their answers. Okay? I'll do it very quickly. The first question is, if a bat and a ball together cost 1 rand and 10 cents, and the bat costs 1 rand more than the ball, how much does the ball cost? Okay,
maybe you must repeat that.
If a bat and a ball together cost 1 rand and 10 cents, and the bat costs 1 rand more than the ball, right? How much does the ball cost? So if you've heard these questions before, please don't answer. If you haven't, you've got 3 minutes to answer. Okay, you can phone it in or you can WhatsApp it in. The second question is, if a lily pad on a pond doubles in size every day and it takes 48 days to cover the entire pond, how many days does it take to cover half the pond?
Okay,
was that clear?
I think so.
Okay, and then last one is, if it takes 5 machines 5 minutes to make 5 widgets, how many minutes does it take 100 machines to make 100 widgets? Okay, if it's not clear, please just WhatsApp it in and I'll repeat it. But you got a few minutes and you can give us your answers.
Inshallah.
Okay, so what was your question again, Zainab?
Yes, how does one basically exclude ourselves from a system that is as corrupt as it is?
Well, look, this system involves every aspect of our lives, from our finances to our health to the legal aspect of our lives and so forth. So you can't really live a normal life in this system. And so you got to get out of the system. You got to go and create your own country, okay, if you can. Or you got to get off grid where you don't actually depend on the system at all, So there is, I've tried this in 2003 already when it comes to finances, because I realized when I was at the business school, they weren't really teaching us the whole truth. And so I got involved in alternative economics. And one of the projects that we had was to set up a trading platform, a community exchange system, sort of a record-keeping virtual currency sort of system where people can trade with each other, but outside of the normal system. And it really took off for a while, and then it really sort of peaked, and then it sort of went downhill because people couldn't really buy they couldn't, for example, buy a trolley of groceries at Pick and Pay or any other food retailer with the kind of currency that we were having or we have. It's still operational. I mean, there's many community exchanges across the world now, but the Cape Town Talent Exchange is still operational, and people can join up there and trade with each other, but they can't buy stuff at your mainstream vendors because they don't accept the talent. but they're starting to accept Bitcoin now. So that's another virtual currency, the outside of the system. Okay, we have to get outside of this financial system, because this financial system is exceptionally evil. Okay, it's extremely evil. And the people who don't understand the evilness of the system, then you really need to do a lot of research to find out why the system is so evil. And in fact, evil is across the entire planet, controlling the entire planet, from your health care, from your health to your finances, as I said, to the legal system itself is a man-made legal system. Okay, it's man's so-called law, which is really satanic law, because if you really understand the statutory system, it is really at its heart satanic. It's anti-life. It's about stealing. Okay, stealing life, stealing freedom, stealing property. Okay. And so we need to follow natural law, which is God's law, okay? God's natural law. We need to start living in harmony with God's natural law.
Okay.
And that's really the starting point, yeah.
We do have a caller. I hope that this person has the
Answers
to the question. Let's go. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, salam. Did he start with 10 rand or with 1 rand? No, the question.
Must I repeat the question?
Yes, but I've got the answer.
Good. Okay, you done some algebra there quickly. Use equations. Okay, the question was, a bat and a ball together cost 1 rand and 10 cents, and the bat costs 1 rand more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
It's 5 cents. It's not an algebra question.
It's not an algebra question. Very good.
It's
very
a
good.
Cognitive question.
That's correct. Absolutely. I was waiting for that answer too.
Yes, a cognitive question, not an algebra or math question.
Thank you. Well, you can work it out algebraically.
Yeah, you can. You can.
But okay, the second one is more cognitive, and the third one.
It's much more simpler.
Oh, you got the answers too?
Yeah, I got all.
Okay. Don't give it to us. We'll wait for a few more.
No, they are cognitive.
Very much so.
Questions and not maths. It's got nothing. Very little. It can be solved by maths, but it is actually a brain question.
Correct. Absolutely. Well done. And I'm going to tell you why I asked these questions.
Okay. Well, shukran so much for your contribution. Shukran. Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam.
Shall I say why I asked the question?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first answer was 5 cents, which the brother was absolutely correct. The second answer, people give what looks like the obvious answer, which would be 24 days. So if a lily pad on a pond doubles in size every day and it takes 48 days to cover half the pond, most people say it'll take 24 days. Sorry, it takes 48 days to cover the whole pond. Most people will say it takes 24 days to cover half the pond, because sort of intuitively it sounds correct. It sounds obvious that's the obvious answer. Which and the obvious answer is incorrect, okay? Because it takes 47 days to cover half the pond. Because the next day it'll double in size, it'll cover off the entire pond, okay? So it's 47 days. And then the last one is, if it takes 5 machines 5 minutes to make 5 widgets, how many minutes does it take 100 machines to make 100 widgets? And most people say it takes 100 minutes, but it also takes 5 minutes because they're working over the same time period, you see. And then the first answer, which we said, was 5 cents. Now, the reason why I pose these questions is because people give the obvious answer, okay? And so when they look around them in the world today, it's obvious that we're living in the best system. The financial system is the best system, and the statutory system is the best system. And everything around them looks like it's just obvious, that's obviously the way things should be, okay? But that's the wrong way to look at things, because it's obviously not the way things should be. Because if you look at the chaos in the world today, the suffering, the premature deaths, that's obviously not normal. No. But people have subconsciously come to assume that is actually obviously normal, okay? And that's what we need to start questioning ourselves. Don't just look at the obvious, what you think is the obvious. You got to look beyond the obvious. Always look beyond the obvious.
And you'll be able to see the deception, isn't
Correct. That's why you're looking beyond the obvious to see through this deception. That's very crucial. Absolutely.
You are listening to Radio 786 at 100.4 FM. Dr. Faiez, Kirsten in studio with me, and we're talking about, we're continuing the conversation about globalist agenda, and we are also, we had three quite interesting questions that a very, very intelligent man called in, and he gave us the answer. You can give us a call on 0216991786 or 0786 10 11 12. Now, Dr. Faiez, coming back to my very first question with regards to, now that we've recognized and we realize that these are this is the agenda and we need to kind of steer clear from it, what would be our way of getting out of the system? Because it seems very difficult, I must be honest.
I've been trying this for years now. Even belong to what we call a common law society, which is outside of the statutory system. But it's very difficult because everybody's programmed to believe that the statutory system is the way life should be. We should be living our lives according to this man's law, okay? But we've just been indoctrinated, brainwashed, program, whatever word you want to use, to believe that this is the case. But it shouldn't be like this, okay? But the first thing you must realize, we're being programmed, as I said, all the time, and the beliefs that we are being programmed with are satanic beliefs. Really, there's 4 pillars of Satanism, and you really need to interrogate your own subconscious to see if you actually do hold these 4 pillars of Satanism, okay? Because they're completely the antithesis of the Quran, okay? You'll see that the first pillar is, self-preservation is the highest priority. In other words, there's nothing higher than yourself, and so you need to do everything to preserve your own life above everything else, okay? So whether you have to kill someone, steal from them, doesn't matter, okay? You got to preserve your life. We know what the Quran says, which is there's no other God but God, okay? La ilaha illallah. Right? So we know that that's exactly the opposite to the first pillar of Satanism. The second one is moral relativism, which is subjective morality versus objective morality. Okay, subjective morality is that you decide what's right and wrong for you, depending on how you feel at that time. Okay, if it's right for you to steal somebody's property, then that's right. That's subjective morality. You, as a human being, decide what's right and wrong. Objective morality says no. Right and wrong is you know what's right and wrong, but you don't choose. You don't decide what's right and wrong. Right and wrong is what God taught you what's right and wrong. Okay, that's objective morality. That's Satanism is exactly the opposite to the scriptures. Okay. The third one is social Darwinism, which says that, certain human beings are superior to other human beings. Okay. Which is exactly, again, Satan. In the eyes of God, the noblest, of people are those are the most pious, the most righteous, okay? That's in the eyes of God. And we know what the Prophet ﷺ said about the Arab not being superior to a non-Arab and so forth, okay? But satanic belief is that there are people, because they have more money, apparently, most of it is fake anyway, and they apparently have more intelligence, and so they get to control everybody else because everybody else is inferior to them. That's purely Satanism, okay? And then the last one is eugenics, where they basically say, okay, we are more powerful than everybody else, and we get to decide who lives and who dies. And you see, many people dying today, not from natural causes, but from unnatural. Unnatural people killing them, whether it's through food or through the pharmaceutical industry or through the chemical industry. People are being killed off because those in power have decided, we're going to kill these people because they don't really need to be here. They're just useless eaters, as they call us. Useless eaters. Okay. So so you need to understand that. And are you running your life by these 4 pillars? Because a lot of people actually are. If you actually ask people, these Christians, a lot of them will say, I had a friend of mine, he's a doctor, and he came to me one day and said, Faiez, I'm really worried. One of my colleagues I work with came to me and he said, we're better than these patients. And it really bothered me. He said, I said, why did he say that? He said, well, look, we know more than these patients. We can kill them whenever we want to. They really don't know as much as we do, so we're superior to them. And so he came to me because he realized, he knew that I knew a bit about this stuff. And he asked me, he said, what do you think? Is this guy right? are we better than our patients, So I said to him, what do you think? Do you think you're better than your patients, more superior to your patients, And he said, when you think about it, I think I am actually. I think we are actually superior to our patients. Well, we obviously know more, about medicine than what they do. So, and their lives are in our hands. So I said to him, okay, say one day you're driving along the road and your car gets stuck. I said, what do you know about cars' engines? He said, not much. So I said, okay, now you're driving, you're far away from nowhere, you're just stuck in the middle of the desert somewhere, and you get out your car and you open the bonnet and you really know what the heck is going on. So now you're going to die out here in the desert, okay? But suddenly a car pitches up there and a driver gets out and you see it's one of your patients, and the guy says, Doc, what's going on here? He said, I just got stuck, man. So the guy looks in the bonnet and says, okay, I see the problem. So he fixes your car and he's on his way. He says, okay, carry on, Doc. So I say, in that situation,
Who's
who
the
was
superior?
superior? Was the patient who fixed your car superior, or were you superior to that patient who knew more about the workings of a car than what you did? So, for anybody to think that they're superior to another individual is just a sign of stupidity, first of all, I think, okay? Or just a satanic belief that you hold. So we need to question ourselves, are we holding these beliefs? Because these beliefs are going to drive you down the wrong road, and it's taken humanity down the wrong road. That's why the world is in such chaos, because you're not living in harmony with natural law. And we need to get to grips with that, with what natural law really is. And maybe one day we can actually talk about that as a specific topic.
Now, that was based on moral
relativism, knowing the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah, and we spoke about subjective morality, objective morality, also social Darwinism and eugenics.
Yeah.
Quite interesting how when you put it out the way you did, that you actually realize when you listen that somehow you either fit in one of them or you or all of them.
If you question people, you'll be shocked. There's billions, probably hundreds of millions, and probably billions of people who basically are Satanists, and they don't even actually know that. You can just look around your order-following law enforcers, for example, your police, your military people. They have completely ignored what the difference between right and wrong. So they willfully ignoring their conscience, which is choosing right over wrong. Okay. So if you don't have a conscience, you're willfully choosing wrong over right. Okay, and that's why the agenda has come so far down the road, is because these order followers are actually really the people at the heart of actually driving this agenda for the controllers. If it wasn't for the order following police or military people, these guys wouldn't be able to unroll the agenda.
Yes, I was watching an interesting movie, and I know it was a movie, but part of the movie was that these military soldiers, they came into a particular area and they just killed everyone. They went into the homes and they just killed everyone. And they got hold of one of the soldiers and they asked him, how is this happening? Why are you killing children, women, everyone? And he was saying this was an order that we received and I am just doing my job.
Yeah, no, I've seen many of those interviews, and the guys are like, they're like robots,
Yes.
They don't think anymore. They don't think, they're just doing, okay? And that's called order following, and that is evil. That's the most evil thing you can actually do, is actually just follow orders blindly without thinking, especially if that's going to harm somebody else. And natural law is about not harming anybody else, respecting other people's rights. And statutory law is not about that.
We do have a call on the line. You live on Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Yes, we coming to the ayah in the Quran which we recite every day. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladhalin amin. Everything is in there. In a short 2 verses, Allah Ta'ala guarantees us everything, especially siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. If we are guided, and Allah Ta'ala has actually chosen us to be of His favorite slaves, like we are asking there, to make us of His chosen people or His favorite people, then I don't think anything can go wrong. Because Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran also, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Now Allah says, if you got consciousness of Allah and you believe in Allah can do everything for you, then Allah Ta'ala says that Allah will make everything very easy for you. Allah will make a way out for you, and Allah will sustain you. We don't need to chase this dunya. And Allah says the condition, the shart of it, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. So if we put our trust in Allah, only in Allah we put our trust, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, because Allah is sufficient for us. Now that is where we must come back to, we as Muslims, we must get back to that, the promise that Allah made, because Allah never breaks His promises, and Allah Ta'ala never goes against His promises. So if we can get back to that promise that Allah makes to us, that if we put our trust in Allah only, then Allah Ta'ala will become. Then we don't need to go to the Satans and everything. Shukran wa salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for your contribution, Dr. Faiez.
Yeah, no, the brother's absolutely right. But we got to follow up with what we say. It's usually just going to mosque or to church or wherever and saying these things. And then when you leave the mosque, you do exactly the opposite. Okay?
Yeah. So internalizing.
You got to have, this coherence between what you're saying and what you're doing.
The connection between the heart and the tongue.
Correct. But it's true what the brother says. But I find a lot of people will say these things, but they don't really live it out. And so they have this conflict within them, and that's not going to be helpful at all. Yeah.
The Globalist Agenda Part 2 with Dr. Faiez Kirsten, that is what we are discussing. You can be part of the conversation. 0216991786. So we live on the Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Zainab, and to the doctor in the studio.
Wa alaikum salam.
It's indeed a very empowering session. The content is so relevant, and I would say a reminder for a believer. There are so many things that we know, but we don't practice because we're in such a rush during the day that we don't often have introspection. So very, very valuable. I'm indeed very humbled by your program. And inshallah, I'm hoping to listen to more of these sessions, inshallah.
Shukran so much to you, Alima. I think that, again, the caller mentions that we are very often not practical with what we know.
That is true. I mean, a lot of people recite the Quran, but if you don't understand Arabic, then you don't really know what you're saying. So the irony is you may be reciting something and then doing exactly the opposite. Soon after you recite the Quran, maybe you come across the verse which says, "O mankind, eat what is lawful and good for you in the earth." Okay, you recite that, and then you go and eat junk food immediately thereafter. So we really need to understand what we're reading when we're actually reading the instruction manual. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the lines. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Brother Madloom speaking. I'm just has made the dua at the Janaza in 151 3rd Avenue. And as I came out of hospital, and I switched on my radio now, and I listened to the very, very intellectual and beautiful words which a listener phoned in about putting our trust in Almighty Allah. And I don't have to remark any further on it because that made my day. And may the radio station 786 go from strength to strength because you are there to inform our people, whether you're Christian, Muslim or Jew, whatever. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran so much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Faiez?
Yeah, yesterday, thank you for that. Shukran for those words, brother. Appreciate them. I came across a book, funnily enough, called Sellout by advocate P.J. Pretorius. And I only read about 20 pages perhaps. And people are interested in learning about how this country is already captured. And I've been saying this for a long time. When I came across this thing about certain people wanting to capture this country, I found it quite amusing and entertaining at another level. Because I had realized a long time ago that this country is already captured. In fact, we're a colony of the United States of America, okay? South Africa is a colony of the United States. Because we're living in the American empire, Pax Americana now, okay? And that book, just those first 20 pages, explaining, how the Illuminati has captured this country, even before the Boer republics, apparently. It just crystallized just those first 20 pages. I haven't read the entire book, so I'm not recommending the book, but I'm just saying that I came across this book yesterday. It's called Sellout, the truth behind the history of South African politics by advocate P.J. Pretorius. And you'll see how the Illuminati actually has captured this country. If you look at the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, Cecil John Rhodes was an Illuminati agent, Rothschild agent in South Africa, okay? So where does the Mandela Rhodes Foundation come from? David Rockefeller and Mandela were really good friends. David Rockefeller is a grandson of J.D. Rockefeller, was a father of the pharmaceutical industry, just killing millions of people every year. Yeah. So we need to look at the deception. Yeah.
It's Radio 786 on 100.4 FM. That's the voice of Dr. Faiez Kirsten. Yulavani, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, Zainabine. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran for taking my call, man. I just want to I just want to commend the brother that phoned in earlier on about us going back to Allah Ta'ala. it's such a powerful year that he made, and I concur with him many, many thousands of times. I just want to add to the discussion, Doctor. When we look at, if we speak about these globalists, we speak about these people that's controlling everything, we speak about people that controls our minds, we speak about people that controls our economy, we can speak about people that controls government. What about the people that controls our deen? What about the people that has made us subservient? The individuality and our creativity has been made subservient to the way we have been taught what Islam is all about. And I think, the brothers' comment about we must go back to Allah, as things I've been saying for many, many years, is we must go back to the Quran. Then these globalists won't succeed. But for as long as we play along and follow their agendas, like being with it, or you're going through the modes that they want us to go through, like society demands us to wear an Adidas or a Nike or this, we will be subservient. But for as long as we don't go back to the Quran, we will still be under these people's control. That's why they're controlling us, because they're controlling our deen, they're controlling our economy, they're controlling everything of us. Shukran, Doctor. I can listen to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Afwan. No, the brother's absolutely right, 100%. They control everything. They control the power centers of society, okay? They control all the systems. They control those people who manage those systems, whether it's the financial system, the healthcare system, the legal system, the political system. In fact, we all trained really to serve the agenda. From the time you're in school, right through indoctrinated, go to university, you're actually indoctrinated to serve the agenda. So politicians, lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, all of them are trained to serve the agenda. So we're actually responsible for our own enslavement, ultimately, at the end of the day.
Cause of our own destruction.
Exactly, because we haven't read the manual, instruction manual. I always call it the instruction manual because,
it is an instruction.
It's an instruction manual. It tells you how you should be living your life. These are the instructions. Eat what's good for you. I mean, it's a simple instruction. But people, obviously, because they ignore those instructions and they follow other instructions, which they've been indoctrinated with, programmed with. That's what they're living their lives out with,
We have a few WhatsApp messages that came by 0786101112, and one of it says, Dajjal is the mastermind of the New World Order. You should read Jerusalem in the Quran by Mulna Imran Hussain. And then we also have a caller. Yulavani, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is one of the most interesting programs I've ever heard on the radio. My name is Abdul Alim, and I think what is important is we need to make more people understand what this program, what you guys are discussing in the studio today. Because so many people are naive regarding the New World Order, and we just sort of go with the flow and expect that the majority is correct, which is not true. So, actually the other day we were talking about something, and I was saying that the difference between us now in today's time and the Sahaba of those years, we all had goals. We have short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. But their long-term goals was for the Akhirah. They did everything for Allah's pleasure. And our long-term goals end when we die. We see how much wealth we can amass. We see how much, we want to leave legacies for our children. But our long-term goals should actually be for the Akhirah, because if it is the Akhirah, then everything that we do in our lives will be done correctly for the sake of Allah and for Allah's pleasure. So, Dr. Faiez, I've never met you, but it's unbelievable what you guys are discussing there, and I think we should actually let more and more people, we should have more lectures or information sessions to inform people, and try and get their way of thinking to be different. That's very important. So thank you very, very much. How do I actually get hold of Dr. Amir? Can we actually have a discussion with him off air, or
yes,
does it allow that, or how does that
at the end of the program, inshallah, we will give you details of how to get hold of Dr. Faiez, inshallah.
Okay, please do. I'd really love to sit down with this man over a cup of coffee and discuss a lot of things. We sort of discuss. We're on the same
page.
We'll be exactly on the same word on that page. Because I think the big challenge today is how do we actually implement this in our lives?
Yes,
because we are really controlled by, interest is a big problem.
Absolutely.
But most 99% of people their lives are governed by interest.
Yes.
And when you try and talk to people to say, get rid of it, they say, yeah, how can we? Because we have to have a house. Well, we don't have to have a house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Rent a house.
Yeah.
So, no, please give me doctor's details. I really want to sit with this man over a cup of coffee. It's going to be a long cup of coffee.
Inshallah. Shukran for calling.
Shukran for that.
For all the information. Absolutely awesome information.
Okay, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran for that, brother. Yeah, no, you're welcome. In fact, I was going to say at the end of this program, anybody wants to discuss, what I'm talking about, especially setting up a completely sovereign, independent, place where we can basically
discuss,
live away from the satanic system. They would be welcome to contact me. So the brothers already phoned in, and we can discuss that.
Inshallah.
Anybody who wants to discuss that, certainly you can contact me. We can arrange a meeting. Yeah.
Inshallah. Let's go back to the lines. You live on Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and the Honorable Doctor. All your listeners. In fact, I would like to add to the discussion where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah is the only one that is self-sufficient, and we are always in need of Allah's mercy. Allah says, وَاللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ وَأَنْتُمُ الْفُقَرَاءُ وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. Which means, if you turn your back on what Allah has entrusted you with, He will replace you with another people, and they won't be like you. Now the question is, we all concerned about the Muslim Ummah. They are in a condition that they are in. The reason why, because they've forsaken the Quran. They've forsaken Allah's guidance. So therefore, they mustn't cry, because everyone wants to be a boss. Everyone wants to be the man. No one wants to be followers. That's why the only solution for the Muslim Ummah is to have khilafat. As long as we don't have khilafat, we will remain like this for 1 billion years to come. And another thing is, in the sight of Allah, it is not quantity that counts, it is quality. Allah looks at quality, not quantity. Allah will destroy the masses if the quality had to be preserved, but provided you have to become godly. But we have forsaken Allah. We don't understand the concept and the definition of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran clearly, why is it that man rebels when Allah sends him guidance? When they say that Allah sent a man like us to guide us, is that possible? Now, we must understand the Quran again, not try to recite it in melody and to impress the pronunciation in Arabic. Try to understand the spirit of the Quran. And as long as we're not going to do that, Allah will forsake us. Jazakumullah.
Shukran so much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Quite a number of issues that's coming through, Dr. Faiez. And I really want to get to the part where we actually speak about ways and means or methods of getting out of this type of system.
Okay, I think just one point what the brother mentioned, a beautiful word, shukran for that. A law is a law. It's God's law cannot be broken, cannot be changed. It's immutable, okay? If you break God's law, there's going to be consequences. Man's law changes all the time. A decade or two ago, almost 2 decades now, we had a so-called law of apartheid, okay? Where you couldn't sit on a bench because your skin color wasn't right. Today, that so-called law doesn't exist anymore. So these are just man's rules and regulations. God's law doesn't change. It's immutable. Natural law. If you break natural law, there's going to be consequences. Okay, it doesn't matter how many times you protest or pray. If you break the law, there's consequences. So if you want to jump off the side of a building and you pray and say, please, God, don't let me fall down. Let me just hover here in the air, and you pray for an hour or so, you're still going to fall down the side of the building and you're going to hurt yourself because that's the law of gravity. No matter how much you pray or protest, the law operates. And we're breaking God's law. We're not living in harmony with God's law every day. We're doing that. And the world's in chaos, and we're praying and we're protesting. And we're wondering, why is it like this? It's because we're in violation of God's law. Okay, so the best form of protest, in a satanic world, is to live in harmony with God's natural law. Okay, and the Quran is about natural law. I mean, you're thinking. Okay, Quran commands you to think. That's a law. If you don't think properly, your behavior is going to be wrong. So coming back to your question, is how do we get out of this? Many people have been trying this. They're still trying it today, and some of them are successful. Maybe you can search a little country called Liberland, okay, which is an independent country, has no government, okay, people are living in a sovereign way. it's a process. As I said, I've been involved in a group, for a few years now, and we're still trying to get out of it, out of the system. It's not easy, okay? I've been stopped, by police because of my car. It's a process. I won't do justice, in the next 5 or 10 minutes. It's something we maybe have to have a whole program about, because you have to get out of the financial system, out of the legal system, out of the healthcare system, out of all the systems. And now, if you're registered in the system, they own you. Okay, when you are born, and your mother registers you in the system, government owns that name. It creates a corporation with the same name as you. Okay, government owns that corporation. So whenever they mention that name, they're referring to the corporation. But when you say, yes, I am that name, then you're creating joinder with that straw man. And then the system has got you, because you're saying, yes, I am this government-owned entity, which is really satanic. Yeah.
Back to the lines. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Doctor, we speak a lot. We speak about this and we speak about that. But what about the Ahmadis that say this, the hadith is not necessary? The Ahmadis say just throw the hadith out. Why don't we talk about the Shias and the Ahmadis, which are forbidding the Quran?
Shukran, we are not going to entertain that because it's not relevant to the topic this morning. We are talking about the globalist agenda, and that is a topic, a question for another topic. Just coming back to our discussion, Dr. Faiez, we have about 5 minutes left, and I think one of the callers mentioned that we need to kind of work towards the mindset of people and try and change that, because yesterday I was having a conversation with Maulana Sarfaraz Hamza, and he was making a very good point by saying that we may think that the world we advancing in terms of technologically, we advancing and we progressing, but in actual fact we are not. The further and further we're progressing according to the material world, the more and more we're in fact moving away from Allah's laws. Absolutely correct. I mean, take, for example, the global health crisis, which we're supposed to have covered today, but perhaps we can do it next week. Medicine has so-called advanced over the last 100 years, in leaps and bounds. Technology has advanced, but more than 96% of the world's population is sick, despite the so-called advances in medicine and technology, medical research and technology. So I think Aldous Huxley said, medical science has advanced, made such tremendous progress, there's hardly a healthy human left. Okay, so it's all deception, basically. Okay, we need to understand that, and it's moving towards total, complete control and enslavement of humanity. Now with the cashless society coming in, when you can't actually control your own cash, your own money, the banks have to basically control every transaction and keep your money in their possession. You can't even keep any of your cash. Now, when we reach that point, I mean, you can say you're basically a complete slave. Yeah. So let's take our final caller for this morning. It's Radio 786. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Shukran for the beautiful program. I promise with Ali only half a minute. Zainab, keep this recording. I have reported a guy that was on before. He's an agitator and instigator, and he's a troublemaker, and he divides us ummah. Please record it. I have reported him to the human rights already. Shukran, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With 3 minutes left, Dr. Faiez, what do we leave the listeners with this morning?
I think it's really time for all of us, to raise our level of consciousness, so that we basically develop the ability to say the lost word. And what is the lost word? The lost word is no. Okay? Very few people are prepared to say no. To say no to evil, to say no to enslavement, to say no to whatever is wrong in the world. But the Quran actually tells you to stand up for justice, even if it's against your own self, or your family, or your friends. Doesn't matter, rich or poor. You got to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. We're not going to accept it. And until we reach that point where the level of consciousness has raised sufficiently enough across entire humanity, where everybody's prepared to say no, it's going to be very difficult to turn this diabolical situation around. So it's really time for us to say no, to this globalist agenda. And really, do what we say, and it requires knowledge, it requires care, it requires courage. And they say society honors its living conformists, but it's dead troublemakers. So once a person dies and he's been a troublemaker, that's the time they honor him. But if you're a conformist, while you're alive, everybody's honoring, such a good guy, but he's conforming to the system. If you're not a conformist, society tends to reject those who are not conforming or anti-establishment, as they say. While the person is alive, the minute he's killed or he dies, they'll say, that guy was a really good guy, hey? But he was a troublemaker, but now we'll honor him. But not when he's alive. We need to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. You can't steal people's property, their lives, using deceptive means. It's just completely and utterly wrong. There's nothing right about it. If anybody can prove to me that it's right, then, I welcome them to come and show me how that is right. Yeah.
Dr. Faiez, just your details of how one can get a hold of you.
Faiez at brainscience.co.za. Or 078-416-2673, 078-416-2673. It's best to SMS me or to email me, and then I will phone you back. Yeah.
Inshallah. And there you have it. That is how you can get hold of Dr. Faiez. You can also contact the reception area if you missed the details, and we will provide you with those numbers, inshallah. But also, I'd like to leave the listeners with something that you mentioned during the program. You said that when we go against what is natural law, there are consequences to be faced. And I think that is really what we should be thinking about. When we do go against what is natural law, then we must face the consequences.
The effect you're seeing in society in terms of poverty, chaos, that's the effect. Those are the consequences. What's caused it? The mind is a plane of causality. It's coming from our minds and the globalist minds. Together, we're creating this massive situation, diabolical situation. Yeah, absolutely.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding, and also may we take heed, inshallah. And that concludes the first hour with Dr. Faiez. Kirsten, do stay tuned to Radio 786 and 100.4 FM. We do still have lots lined up for you in the remainder. To Dr. Faiez, shukran so much. Looking forward to our next discussion, inshallah.
Afwan Zainab, shukran for having me. I appreciate it.
Always an absolute pleasure. Stay with Radio 786 and 100.4 FM, also Radio 1584 medium wave in Pretoria.